What is the difference between a pro mindset and an amateur's mindset? At the end of today's video, I want you to have a clear understanding how professional athletes think in comparison to amateurs, what they do, how they act, and how their mindset actually works. And then it's up to you if you want to act and think like a pro in the future or not. Ready for some progress? Then let's go. Welcome to today's video. My name is Steven and I help athletes become mentally strong and successful. So what's the difference between a professional mindset and an amateur's mindset? First of all, pros usually are optimists. Amateurs tend to be sometimes pessimists. The optimist sees opportunities, the pessimist sees problems. So the person with a professional mindset rather sees an opportunity even when he or she gets defeated. They look for solutions, they look what they can improve and how they can do it better in the future. And for the ones with a rather negative mindset, let's call it the amateur's mindset, this is a big drama. A defeat might appear as the world is going down. It's a big drama. And well, maybe they even ask themselves if it makes sense to continue. And this brings us already to the second point that shows the difference between a pro and an amateur regarding mindset. The pros are very consistent in what they do. So they work on themselves and on their skills each day. The amateur, on the other side, works on himself when it works. So when everything is going fine. But as soon as something is going wrong, the amateur tends to maybe be frustrated, super sad, even furious, and he might even quit training and he doesn't want to continue and maybe even quit his or her sport. So it's all about consistency. Consistency is key if we want to have success in the long term. And that makes the difference. Are you a pro? Or are you an amateur? So look at how you act and react on and in difficult moments and situations. What do you do after a defeat? Do you practice even more? Do you try to learn from your defeat? Or are you stuck in big doubts, frustration and anger? And you just want to quit your sport in a moment like that. So consistency is key, especially in difficult situations and moments. Consistency is directly linked to self-belief. So if an athlete is facing a difficult situation, maybe an injury, maybe a series of defeats, maybe some other problems from his point of view. So when talking about difficult situations and moments in an athlete's life, we also have to have a look at the level of self-belief, self-esteem. So the pro believes in himself on a very high level. On the other hand, the amateur who doubts himself and gets frustrated pretty quickly tends to have a rather low level of self-esteem and self-belief. And this is where it becomes a little bit complicated. The level of self-esteem and self-belief depends a lot on the past. So how did we grow up? How was our relationship at home with our parents, with our siblings, with our friends? How did we get on in school? And especially what did we experience in our sports in the past? Did we actually win a lot over the last couple of months and years? Did we lose a lot? How good are we actually in handling defeats? So all of this has a huge impact on us, on our mindset and the level of self-belief and self-esteem. And in case you have the feeling your self-esteem, self-belief could be better, then don't hesitate to get in touch with me. Click on the link in the video description and we can have a free conversation and you can tell me a bit more about your mindset and I can give you some inputs on how we can work on your mindset. Because most of the times when we're struggling with our self-belief and self-esteem, It's somewhere hidden in the subconsciousness, and for that we need to have the right tools and methods that we can work on it and that we can release this, let's say, knot, so that you can perform on a very high level. So what else is different between a pro and an amateur regarding mindset? It's the long-term approach and the short-term approach. So the pro always has a vision, and the vision might be a couple of years away. He sets his targets and he knows what he needs to do to reach his targets on the way to his vision. And he doesn't actually get too much irritated or frustrated on the way when something doesn't work the way it maybe should work, or when he just gets defeated in a competition or in a match, because he knows exactly what he needs to do to reach his target. And he also knows that defeats and setbacks are part of the game, part of the journey. And the great thing about people with a pro's mindset is that they learn from defeats and from setbacks. So they write down what can I improve, what should I do differently in the future, what was good, what could have been better. But that's it. So they don't spend too much time on they don't spend too much time on analyzing one single match or competition. They analyze it, they learn from it, and then they continue, because they have the targets and they have the vision, and that's it. The amateur, on the other side, is very, very focused on some very specific matches, competitions, opponents. And most of the time an amateur doesn't have a clear vision, neither does he have some clear targets. So it's actually like living an athlete's life from day to day. And that's why a defeat or a setback feels completely different for a person like that. This is huge, and this could be the end of the career. So this kind of athlete identifies himself incredibly much with maybe one single competition or one single opponent that he loses to, instead of regarding this as a part of the game and part of the process. Last but not least, the pros know exactly that it's a lifelong learning. So what does that mean? No matter how good a real pro, a big star is, he will always try, or she will always try to improve, to learn. So maybe you can also find some absolute superstars in sport. I always have to think of Novak Djokovic or Rafa Nadal. People like that, you know, even in their high 30s, when they were still playing, or Djokovic is still playing, you can see they always want to improve, they always want to learn. That's why they get some more input from outside. They want to get new perspectives and new ideas for their game, how they can improve. And that makes the big difference between an absolute pro mindset and an amateur's mindset. So even maybe a top 30 or top 50 player in tennis has some kind of amateur's mindset, because he or she thinks, you know, well, I don't need to learn anything else. I mean, I know how it works, you know, I'm top 30, I'm top 50 in the rankings. So why should I get some more input, or why should I change myself or my game or my mindset? And that's exactly the difference that it makes, why Djokovic has won maybe 24 Grand Slams, and some other players have never won one single Grand Slam tournament. So how are you going to proceed from now on? Are you going to work in direction pro mindset, or are you happy with the amateur's mindset? Let me know in the comments what your opinion is on mindset. Maybe you also have some good ideas on or what's important to you regarding a mindset and a professional mindset. In case you like the content, I'd be very happy if you hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so yet, and I hope to see you in one of my next videos. Bye.